The Starship Galactic Explorer hovered in orbit around a small blue-green planet known as Earth. Inside the ship, a group of alien students from the Galactic Academy prepared for their first field trip to a death world. They were excited but nervous. The word death world carried a sense of danger and mystery, but most of them thought it was an exaggeration. Professor Lox, a tall alien with silvery skin and 4 glowing eyes, stood in front of the class. His voice was calm but carried authority. Listen carefully, students. Earth is classified as a death world for a reason. Its gravity is stronger than most planets, its weather is unpredictable, and its ecosystem is full of dangerous creatures and plants. This is not a playground. A student named Zeke raised a hand, his voice full of curiosity. But Professor, aren't humans just exaggerating? I mean, how bad can it be? Professor Lox sighed. Humans have adapted to survive here, but make no mistake, this planet is not friendly. You will see for yourselves soon enough. The students exchanged excited looks as the ship descended toward the planet. They were eager to see what made Earth so special and so dangerous. The ship landed in a dense forest, chosen for its relatively safe environment. The moment the students stepped out, they were struck by the richness of the air. It smelled fresh, filled with the scent of trees and flowers. The ground was soft with fallen leaves, and the sunlight filtered through the branches, creating a peaceful scene. This doesn't look so bad, said Lirith, a purple-skinned student with shimmering scales. She bent down to touch a strange-looking flower with bright red petals. It's beautiful. Professor Lox frowned. Careful, Lirith. Many earth plants have defenses. Some are poisonous, and others can even attack. Lirith hesitated but eventually stepped back. The other students chuckled. Attacking plants. Really? One of them said. Professor, you're making it sound like this place is alive and out to get us. Before Professor Lox could respond, a sudden gust of wind swept through the forest. The temperature dropped, and the students shivered despite their protective suits. The once peaceful forest now felt strange and hostile. As the group moved deeper into the forest, they began to notice how alive Earth really was. Birds chirped loudly, insects buzzed in swarms, and rustling sounds came from the bushes. Every step seemed to bring something new and unfamiliar. Zeke spotted a stream and walked toward it. The water was crystal clear, and colorful fish darted back and forth. He leaned down to touch the water, but just as his hand got close, something splashed. A small creature with sharp teeth leaped out, snapping at the air before falling back into the stream. Zeke yelped and jumped back. What was that? He shouted. Professor Lox approached calmly. That, Zeke, is a predator. Even the smallest creatures on Earth can be dangerous. The students began to feel uneasy. The beauty of the forest now seemed like a mask, hiding countless threats. Their unease grew as they continued their exploration. The group stopped to observe a patch of strange blue flowers. They looked harmless at first, but as the students got closer, the flowers suddenly released a cloud of fine dust into the air. One student, Krell, coughed and stumbled back. What is this? Krell gasped, his scales turning pale. Pollen, Professor Lox said. These plants use it to defend themselves or spread their seeds. Don't breathe it in. Krell nodded, and the group quickly moved away, their excitement fading into caution. As they prepared to return to the ship, the forest seemed to grow darker. Strange sounds echoed all around them. A distant growl made the group freeze in place. What was that? Lirith whispered. Professor Lox activated a small scanner. A predator. Likely a large one. Stay close and move quickly. The students didn't need to be told twice. They hurried back toward the ship, their earlier confidence replaced by fear. Every sound seemed louder, every shadow more threatening. When they finally reached the safety of the ship, they looked back at the forest. It was still beautiful, but now they understood what the professor had meant. Earth was alive, and it was dangerous. As the ship lifted off, Zeke muttered, I guess humans weren't exaggerating after all. Professor Locke smiled faintly. Welcome to Earth. This is only the beginning. The alien students stepped out of the ship for their second excursion on Earth. This time, the destination was a breathtaking meadow surrounded by towering mountains. The sunlight painted the landscape in vibrant hues, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of flowers and fresh grass. It was a scene that looked like a paradise. "This is amazing," said Lirith, her purple scales shimmering in the sunlight. She stretched her arms out as if to embrace the beauty. "I can't believe this is the same planet from yesterday's forest adventure." Zeke, still cautious after the previous day, muttered, "Let's not forget what the professor said. Even beautiful things on Earth can be dangerous." The group spread out, exploring the meadow while Professor Locke monitored them from a distance. The students were fascinated by the strange plants and colorful creatures around them. One student, Krell, knelt to examine a cluster of flowers that glowed faintly in the sunlight. "These flowers look like they're alive," Krell said. He reached out to touch one, but a sharp whistle from Professor Locke stopped him. "Careful, Krell," the professor warned. "Those are firebell flowers. They release a chemical that can irritate your skin and cause a burning sensation. Use your scanner before interacting with any flora." Krell quickly pulled his hand back, his curiosity replaced by caution. The group moved deeper into the meadow, marveling at the strange beauty around them. A flock of birds with metallic feathers flew overhead, their calls echoing like music. Small animals with shimmering fur darted through the grass, too quick for the students to capture with their scanners. "It's like this place was designed to be beautiful," Lirith said, her voice filled with awe. "It's beautiful because it needs to be," Professor Locke explained. "On Earth, survival isn't just about strength. Many creatures use beauty to attract prey or warn predators. Don't let appearances fool you." The students nodded, but their excitement overshadowed their caution. They wandered farther, drawn by the dazzling sights around them. Zeke stopped near a large patch of golden grass that seemed to shimmer under the sunlight. As he bent down to take a closer look, the ground beneath him shifted slightly. He froze. "Professor Locke," Zeke called out, his voice uneasy. "Something's moving under the ground." Before the professor could respond, a large insect-like creature burst out of the ground. It had sharp pincers and glistening armor that reflected the sunlight. The students screamed and scrambled back as the creature clicked its pincers menacingly. Maya, the human ranger accompanying them, reacted instantly. She pulled out a flare gun and fired it into the air. The bright light and loud noise startled the creature, causing it to retreat back into its burrow. "Rule number 1 on Earth," Maya said, lowering her weapon, "never assume the ground is safe." Zeke's heart pounded in his chest. "I thought this place was peaceful," he said, his voice shaking. "Earth always tests you," Maya replied. "Even in the most beautiful places, danger hides." The students continued their exploration, now more cautious than before. They encountered a crystal-clear pond surrounded by glowing mushrooms. The water looked inviting, and Lirith leaned forward to take a closer look. "Don't," Professor Locke said firmly. "That's not a pond. It's a trap." As the students watched, a small animal approached the water. Suddenly, the surface rippled, and long tendrils shot out, wrapping around the animal and pulling it under. "What was that?" Krell asked, horrified. "A carnivorous plant," the professor explained. "It lures prey with its appearance and traps them when they get too close." The students stepped back, their admiration of the meadow replaced by a growing sense of fear. He detailed the lessons he learned about teamwork and trust. Krell included a sketch of the group standing together, a symbol of their unity. As the spaceship prepared for departure, the students gathered outside one last time. They looked out at the forest, the river, and the mountains in the distance. The planet that had once seemed so terrifying now felt like a place of wonder. "We'll never forget this," Lirith said softly. "Nor should you," Maya replied. "Take what you've learned here and share it with the galaxy." Let others know that Earth is more than a death world. It's a world of life, growth, and possibility. With a final wave, the students boarded the ship. Maya watched as it rose into the sky, disappearing into the stars. She knew they would tell Earth's story, and perhaps they would inspire others to see the beauty in its challenges. The final report, transmitted to their home planet, carried a simple but powerful message. Earth is not for the faint-hearted. It is a world that demands respect, courage, and resilience. Yet, it is these very demands that make it extraordinary. Humans are a testament to what can be achieved when life meets adversity. They are not just survivors of a death world. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting long shadows over the forest as the alien students trekked through the dense undergrowth. The once vibrant greenery now seemed darker and more ominous. Even the sounds of chirping birds and rustling leaves felt heavier, as though the forest itself was watching them. Zeke glanced nervously at the trees around him. "This place feels different," he whispered, "like something is waiting." "It's just your imagination," Lireth replied, though her voice lacked confidence. Professor Locke, walking at the front of the group, raised a hand. "Quiet," he said softly. "Listen." The group stopped in their tracks, their ears straining for sound. At first, all they could hear was the gentle rustling of leaves. Then, faintly, came a low growl, deep, guttural, and far too close for comfort. "What was that?" Krell asked, his voice trembling. Professor Locke activated his scanner, the device emitting a faint hum as it analyzed the area. The display flickered before showing multiple red dots moving toward their location. "Predators," the professor said, his voice calm but urgent. "Stay together and move quickly. Do not run." The students huddled closer, their excitement from earlier completely replaced by fear. The forest, which had seemed so alive and beautiful, now felt like a trap closing in around them. The growling grew louder, joined by rustling in the bushes. Suddenly, a pack of large, wolf-like creatures emerged from the shadows. Their eyes glowed faintly in the dim light, and their sharp teeth gleamed as they bared their fangs. The students froze, their instincts screaming at them to run, but Professor Locke held up a hand. "Hold your ground," he said firmly. "Running will only make them chase you." The creatures began to circle the group, their movements slow and deliberate. One of them, larger than the rest, stepped forward, growling loudly. It crouched, ready to pounce. "Professor, what do we do?" Lireth asked, her voice barely a whisper. Before Professor Locke could answer, a loud bang echoed through the forest. The lead predator yelped and backed away, its ears flattening against its head. Another bang followed, and the entire pack scattered, disappearing into the shadows as quickly as they had appeared. The students turned to see a human figure stepping out from behind a tree. She was tall and muscular, wearing rugged clothing and carrying a long metallic weapon. Her face was calm, but her eyes were sharp, scanning the area for any remaining threats. "Everyone all right?" the human asked, her voice steady and confident. The students stared at her in awe, their fear slowly fading. Professor Locke stepped forward. "Thank you," he said. "Your timing was impeccable." "I'm Maya," the human said, lowering her weapon. "You must be the alien group I heard about. Welcome to Earth, or what's left of it after the wildlife has its way." The group followed Maya as she led them to a safer area, a small clearing with a makeshift campsite. She handed them water and some energy bars, which they accepted gratefully. "What were those creatures?" Zeke asked, still shaken. "Wolves," Maya replied. "Smart, social predators. They're not usually this bold, but a pack will take risks if they're desperate or see weakness. We would have been." Krell trailed off, not wanting to finish the thought. "You would have been in trouble," Maya said bluntly. "But you stayed calm, and that helped. Most species panic and make themselves easy targets. You've got better instincts than most." The students exchanged glances, a mix of relief and newfound respect for the human. Maya spent the next hour teaching the group basic survival skills. She showed them how to read the forest, identify signs of danger, and use tools to protect themselves. The students listened intently, absorbing every word. "Why do humans live here?" Lirath asked. "This planet seems unforgiving." Maya smiled faintly. "Because it's home. Earth is tough, but it made us tougher. Every challenge here teaches you how to survive, how to adapt. That's why we're still standing." Professor Locke nodded. "Humans are a product of this environment. It's what makes them unique in the galaxy." Zeke looked at Maya with admiration. "Thank you for saving us. We wouldn't have made it without you." Maya shrugged. "You're welcome. But remember, Earth doesn't care if you're prepared or not. It'll test you either way." As the group prepared to leave the campsite, the forest seemed less threatening. The students felt a new sense of respect for Earth and its inhabitants. They had seen its beauty, faced its dangers, and learned from a human who embodied the planet's resilience. As they boarded their ship, Zeke looked back at the forest one last time. "Earth isn't just a death world," he said. "It's a teacher, and humans are its best students." The alien students woke early the next morning, the chill of the forest air clinging to their skin. Their experiences so far had taught them that Earth's beauty came with hidden dangers, and now they faced their biggest challenge yet. Maya stood before them, her arms crossed, and her expression serious. "Today, you'll put everything you've learned to the test. This is your survival challenge," she said. The students exchanged nervous glances. Lirath's purple scales shimmered faintly in the early light as she spoke. "What exactly do we have to do?" Maya gestured to the forest. "You'll navigate through a marked path, find supplies, and solve problems along the way. The goal is to reach the rendezvous point by sunset. You'll face obstacles, but you'll have each other and your wits. No shortcuts, no help from me." Professor Locke, standing to the side, added, "This exercise isn't just about survival. It's about understanding Earth and its lessons. Pay attention to everything around you." The challenge began, and the group moved cautiously into the dense forest. They had a basic map and a few tools, but no weapons. Zeke led the way, his scanner held tightly in his hands. "This way," he said, pointing to a faint trail on the ground. "The map says there should be a water source nearby." They followed the trail, their senses heightened by the sounds of the forest. Birds called out from the treetops, and the occasional rustle in the bushes made their hearts race. Despite the tension, they worked together, each student contributing their unique skills. "Lirath, can you analyze those plants?" Krell asked, pointing to a cluster of green leaves with bright red berries. Lirath scanned the plants with her device. "Toxic," she said. "Definitely not safe to eat." "Good call," Zeke said. "Let's keep moving." As they progressed, the group encountered their first major obstacle, a wide river blocking their path. The water was fast-moving, and sharp rocks jutted out from the surface. "How do we get across?" Krell asked, staring at the rushing water. Zeke studied the map. "There's no bridge nearby. We'll have to build something." Using fallen branches and vines, the students worked together to construct a makeshift raft. Maya's lessons on Earth's materials came in handy as they secured the pieces tightly. After several tense minutes, they pushed the raft into the water. "One at a time," Zeke said. "Lirath, you first." One by one, they crossed the river, their hearts pounding with every wobble of the raft. When the last student reached the other side, they cheered softly, their confidence growing. Further along the path, they faced another challenge. A steep incline covered in loose rocks. The students worked as a team, using ropes to support each other and avoid slips. At the top, they found a cache of supplies left by Maya. Food, water, and a small fire-starting kit. "She's testing us," Lirath said, inspecting the supplies, "seeing if we're resourceful enough to find these. And to use them wisely," Krell added, rationing the food among the group. As the sun began to set, the students neared the rendezvous point, but their final challenge awaited them. A clearing ahead was occupied by a large predator, a bear-like creature with sharp claws and a thick hide. It growled as it caught sight of the group, its eyes gleaming with hunger. "What do we do?" Lirath whispered, her voice trembling. Zeke took a deep breath. Maya said Earth creatures respond to strength and confidence. "We need to stand our ground, make ourselves look bigger." The group gathered in a tight formation, waving their arms and shouting loudly. The creature hesitated, confused by the sudden display. Then, with a final growl, it turned and lumbered away into the forest. The students collapsed in relief, their adrenaline fading. "We did it," Krell said, his voice shaky but triumphant. When they finally reached the rendezvous point, Maya was waiting for them. A fire crackled nearby, and she smiled as they approached. "Not bad," she said. "You worked together, used your knowledge, and kept your cool under pressure. That's what survival is all about." Professor Locke nodded in approval. "You've learned more today than any lesson I could teach in a classroom. Earth is a harsh teacher, but an effective one." The students sat around the fire, exhausted but proud. They had faced Earth's challenges and come out stronger. As they looked up at the stars, they realized they were beginning to understand why humans called this planet home. Lirath spoke softly, her voice filled with respect. "Earth doesn't just test you, it changes you." The morning started calm, the sun casting a golden glow over the dense forest. The alien students and their human guide, Maya, were packing their supplies, preparing for another day of exploration. The previous day's survival challenge had left them tired but proud. They were learning, adapting, and understanding Earth's unpredictable nature. Zeke tightened his pack straps, looking around at the towering trees. "This planet never stops surprising me," he said. "And it never will," Maya replied with a smile. "Earth has a way of testing everyone, even those who call it home." Professor Locke, standing nearby, nodded in agreement. "Remember, students, the greatest lesson Earth teaches us is that nothing here is truly stable. Expect the unexpected." Those words proved prophetic. It started as a faint rumble beneath their feet. Lirath stopped mid-step, her scales shimmering as she turned to Maya. "What was that?" she asked nervously. The rumble grew louder, the ground trembling as loose rocks tumbled down nearby slopes. Birds erupted from the treetops, their frantic cries filling the air. "Earthquake," Maya shouted, her voice sharp. "Stay together. We need to find open ground, now." Panic set in as the students realized the seriousness of the situation. Trees swayed dangerously, and cracks began to appear in the ground. Maya took the lead, guiding them down the forest path at a quick pace. "Keep moving. Don't stop," she called out. Zeke stumbled but caught himself. "How long does this last?" he yelled over the noise. "Could be seconds, could be minutes," Maya replied. "We just need to get to safety." The group came upon a small clearing, but it was surrounded by tall trees that threatened to fall with every tremor. Maya scanned the area quickly, her sharp eyes searching for a better spot. "There." She pointed toward a rocky outcrop in the distance. "We'll be safer there." "Move." The ground buckled beneath their feet as they ran, forcing them to dodge falling branches and shifting rocks. Lirath's breathing grew labored, her alien physiology struggling with the sudden exertion. "I can't keep up," she gasped. "Yes, you can," Zeke said, grabbing her arm and pulling her forward. "We're almost there." Professor Locke stayed at the back of the group, urging the slower students forward. "Focus on your footing. One step at a time," he instructed, his voice calm despite the chaos. Reaching the rocky outcrop, the group huddled together, their breaths coming in ragged gasps. Maya surveyed the area, ensuring everyone was accounted for. "Is this safe?" Krell asked, his eyes wide with fear. "Safer than the forest," Maya replied. "Rocks like these are more stable, but stay alert. The aftershocks can be just as dangerous." As if on cue, A powerful aftershock shook the ground, causing the students to cry out. A nearby tree toppled, crashing into the ground with a deafening thud. Dust and debris filled the air, and the group covered their faces to avoid inhaling it. "Hold on," Maya shouted, gripping a large boulder for stability. The tremors finally subsided, leaving an eerie silence in their wake. The group remained still, their hearts pounding as they waited to see if the worst had passed. When no further shaking came, Maya stood and dusted herself off. "We're clear for now," she said. "Is everyone okay?" The students nodded, though they were visibly shaken. Lirath examined a small scrape on her arm. "Nothing serious," she said. Professor Locke adjusted his glasses, his usually composed demeanor slightly rattled. "That was a close call. Earth's geology is as volatile as its wildlife. And just as deadly," Krell muttered. Maya knelt in front of the group, her expression serious but encouraging. "Listen to me," she said. "What you just experienced is part of life on Earth. This planet will throw everything it has at you. But if you stay calm, think clearly, and work together, you'll survive." Zeke looked at her, his fear giving way to determination. "We made it through because we stuck together. That's what matters." Maya nodded. "Exactly. Survival isn't just about strength or knowledge. It's about teamwork and resilience. You've proven you have both." The students took a moment to absorb her words, their fear slowly replaced by a sense of accomplishment. They had faced one of Earth's greatest natural threats and survived. It was a hard-earned lesson, but one they would never forget. As they prepared to move on, the ground beneath them felt solid once more. But they knew better now. Earth was unpredictable, a world that demanded respect and vigilance. Zeke glanced back at the forest, the fallen trees a stark reminder of the earthquake's power. "Earth isn't just dangerous," he said quietly. "It's alive." Professor Locke placed a hand on his shoulder. "And that is what makes it extraordinary." With renewed determination, the group set off, their bond stronger than ever, and their respect for Earth deeper than they could have imagined. After surviving the earthquake, the alien students and their professors felt a mix of exhaustion and admiration. They had been pushed to their limits, but the challenges were not over yet. As they followed Maya back to their temporary camp, their minds were filled with questions about humans and their resilience. "How do humans survive on such an unpredictable planet?" Lirath asked, her voice filled with curiosity. Maya smiled as she led the way, her boots crunching against the uneven ground. "Humans don't just survive," she said. "We adapt. We learn from the dangers and find ways to live alongside them." Professor Locke, walking behind the group, added, "This adaptability is what sets humans apart from many other species. It's why they've thrived despite Earth's countless challenges." The students nodded thoughtfully, their admiration for humans growing. They had experienced Earth's dangers firsthand, and now they began to understand the unique qualities that allowed humans to call this dangerous planet home. That evening, as the group gathered around a campfire, Maya shared stories of humanity's history. She spoke of ancient humans who faced ice ages, volcanic eruptions, and wild predators. She described how they developed tools, built shelters, and formed communities to survive. "Humans are stronger together," she explained. "When we face challenges, we rely on each other. That's why teamwork is so important, even for survival." Zeke leaned forward, his scanner resting in his lap. "But aren't you afraid, knowing that Earth can strike at any time?" Maya's expression softened. "Fear is natural, but it's also a teacher. It reminds us to stay alert and prepared. And when you overcome fear, you discover strength you didn't know you had." Lirath's purple scales shimmered in the firelight. "That strength is what saved us today. Without your guidance, we would have been lost." "You would have found a way," Maya replied confidently. "You're smarter and braver than you think. Earth pushes everyone to grow, whether they're human or not." The next morning, the group set out on another exploration. They walked through a vast plain, the sky clear and blue above them. Maya pointed out landmarks and shared survival tips. But this time, the students asked fewer questions. They seemed lost in thought, reflecting on their experiences. Krell finally broke the silence. "Maya, do humans ever stop learning?" Maya laughed softly. "Never. Earth keeps teaching us, no matter how much we think we know. The moment we stop learning is the moment we stop surviving." Professor Locke nodded in agreement. "Humans are always evolving, both as individuals and as a species. It's a remarkable trait, and one we can all learn from." The students exchanged glances, their respect for humans deepening. They realized that humanity's strength wasn't just physical or intellectual. It was emotional too. The ability to face fear, adapt, and grow was something they had seen in Maya and felt within themselves during their time on Earth. As the group approached a riverbank, Maya stopped and turned to face them. "Let me show you something," she said, gesturing to the flowing water. The students gathered around, curious. Maya picked up a small, smooth stone from the river and held it up. "This stone didn't always look like this," she said. "It was once rough and jagged, but over time, the river's currents smoothed it. That's what life on Earth does to us. It shapes us, sometimes in ways we don't expect." Zeke picked up a similar stone, turning it over in his hands. "So, the challenges we face aren't just obstacles. They're part of what makes us who we are." Maya nodded. "Exactly. Every danger, every hardship teaches us something. It's how we grow stronger, wiser, and more connected." That night, as they prepared to rest, the students spoke among themselves. They discussed what they had learned and how their perspective on humans had changed. "Humans are incredible," Lirith said. "They face so much danger, yet they're still hopeful and determined. I never realized how much courage it takes to live on a planet like this." Krell agreed. "It's not just their strength or intelligence. It's their spirit. They don't give up, no matter how hard things get." Professor Locke listened quietly, a proud smile on his face. "I think you've all gained something valuable from this journey," he said. "Respect for Earth, respect for humans, and perhaps even respect for yourselves." As the campfire flickered and the stars shone above, the group felt a sense of unity. They had come to Earth to study it, but they had learned so much more than they expected. Humans were not just survivors of a dangerous world. They were masters of it, shaped by its challenges and strengthened by its trials. The time had come for the alien students to leave Earth. Their visit had been filled with danger, wonder, and lessons they would never forget. The spaceship stood ready at the edge of the forest, its sleek silver hull reflecting the light of the setting sun. The group gathered around Professor Locke as he prepared to deliver their final instructions. "Students," he began, his voice steady, "you have experienced Earth as few in our galaxy ever will. Now, it is time to compile your findings and present your final report. Remember, this isn't just about science. It's about understanding the unique place Earth and its people hold in the universe." The students nodded, their expressions a mix of excitement and solemnity. They carried not just data, but stories of survival, bravery, and humanity. Inside the spaceship's conference room, the students sat around a circular table, their holographic tablets glowing with their notes and observations. Maya, their human guide, stood at the back of the room, observing quietly. She had grown fond of the group and was curious to hear their conclusions. "Let's begin," Professor Locke said, gesturing to Lirith. "You'll present first." Lirith stood, her scales shimmering under the soft light. "Earth is a paradox," she began. "It is both beautiful and deadly. The ecosystems are diverse and vibrant, yet they are shaped by constant upheaval, storms, earthquakes, wildfires. And despite these challenges, life not only survives but thrives." She paused, looking at Maya. "Humans, in particular, are remarkable. Their ability to adapt, to face danger with courage and ingenuity, is unlike anything I have seen. They turn adversity into strength. This resilience is why they have mastered such a hostile planet." Maya smiled faintly, but she said nothing, letting the students speak their minds. Next was Zeke, who stood with his scanner in hand. I focused on Earth's physical dangers, he said. The earthquake we experience was a stark reminder of how volatile this planet is. Yet humans have learned to predict these events, to build structures that can withstand them. They respect Earth's power, but refuse to be defeated by it. It's inspiring. Krell followed, his report centered on human culture. I studied their history and found that humans have faced extinction-level events more than once. Each time, they emerged stronger. They build tools, form alliances, and learn from their mistakes. Their culture reflects their struggle, art, music, and stories that celebrate survival and resilience. The students exchanged glances, each reflecting on how much their perspective had changed since arriving on Earth. Finally, it was time for Professor Locke to summarize their findings. He stood at the center of the room, his tall frame commanding attention. Earth, by galactic standards, is a death world, he said. Its environment is harsh, its creatures formidable, and its forces of nature unpredictable. Yet, it is precisely this harshness that has shaped its dominant species. Humans are not merely survivors of this world. They are its stewards. They have learned to coexist with its dangers, and in many ways, to tame them. He turned to Maya, and their humanity is their greatest strength. Maya, you have shown us that compassion, courage, and determination are as vital to survival as any tool or weapon. We owe you our gratitude. Maya stepped forward, her voice calm but heartfelt. Thank you, Professor. Guiding you all has been an honor. If there's one thing I want you to remember, it's that Earth doesn't just challenge us physically. It challenges us to grow as people, to build connections, and to never stop learning. The students recorded their final thoughts, adding personal reflections to the official report. Lirith wrote about overcoming her fear of Earth's dangers, while Zeke detailed the lessons he learned about teamwork and trust. Krell included a sketch of the group standing together, a symbol of their unity. As the spaceship prepared for departure, the students gathered outside one last time. They looked out at the forest, the river, and the mountains in the distance. The planet that had once seemed so terrifying now felt like a place of wonder. We'll never forget this, Lirith said softly. Nor should you, Maya replied. Take what you've learned here and share it with the galaxy. Let others know that Earth is more than a death world. It's a world of life, growth, and possibility. With a final wave, the students boarded the ship. Maya watched as it rose into the sky, disappearing into the stars. She knew they would tell Earth's story, and perhaps they would inspire others to see the beauty in its challenges. Finally, it was time for Professor Locke to summarize their findings. He stood at the center of the room, his tall frame commanding attention. Earth, by galactic standards, is a death world, he said. Its environment is harsh, its creatures formidable, and its forces of nature unpredictable. Yet, it is precisely this harshness that has shaped its dominant species. Humans are not merely survivors of this world. They are its stewards. They have learned to coexist with its dangers, and in many ways, to tame them. He turned to Maya, and their humanity is their greatest strength. Maya, you have shown us that compassion, courage, and determination are as vital to survival as any tool or weapon. We owe you our gratitude. Maya stepped forward, her voice calm but heartfelt. Thank you, Professor. Guiding you all has been an honor. If there's one thing I want you to remember, it's that Earth doesn't just challenge us physically. It challenges us to grow as people, to build connections, and to never stop learning. The students recorded their final thoughts, adding personal reflections to the official report. Lirith wrote about overcoming her fear of Earth's dangers, while Zeke detailed the lessons he learned about teamwork and trust. Krell included a sketch of the group standing together, a symbol of their unity. As the spaceship prepared for departure, the students gathered outside one last time. They looked out at the forest, the river, and the mountains in the distance. The planet that had once seemed so terrifying now felt like a place of wonder. "We'll never forget this," Lirath said softly. "Nor should you," Maya replied. "Take what you've learned here and share it with the galaxy. Let others know that Earth is more than a death world. It's a world of life, growth, and possibility." With a final wave, the students boarded the ship. Maya watched as it rose into the sky, disappearing into the stars. She knew they would tell Earth's story, and perhaps they would inspire others to see the beauty in its challenges.